So is there also this idea of
so what I want to do, because we're going to spend time and we're going to look at original texts, I want to let you guys decide. In other words, let's see the Talmud, let's see the different sources.
Yeah.
Why not,
Let's see the Talmud.
Yeah. So the next statement is, so now we got to go down because we go away to other things, then we come back to dreams.
Okay.
Here. Omer Rav Chisda said,
I think this Sefaria website is so confusing.
It's hard to see.
Why is this keep on jumping up and down?
Because I need to scroll a lot because of the way I can make it smaller.
But then I'll scroll you start reading of Amar Rav Chisda.
Yeah. Can you see it now? Amar Rav Chisda said, Kol chalom v'lo tavot, but not during a tanit. Rav Chisda says any dream is good, but not during a fast. For some reason, a dream during a fast is a bad sign. V'amar Rav Chisda says, Chelma de lo mefashar ki garta de lo mekarye. A dream not interpreted is like a letter not read. In other words, Rav Chisda holds that if you don't read the letter, you don't know what it says. And this is an opinion that a lot of the rabbis of the Talmud hold, that a dream follows its interpretation. Once you interpret it, that's what happens. And it could be because it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, becomes part of your unconscious. Whatever the reason is, there's a whole group of rabbis in the Talmud who hold sometimes it's better not to interpret a dream. Then you don't have problem.
But look at just what you read. Here is a perfect example. Instead of getting into reasons of dreams or whatever, they create a problem right in the beginning. In other words, they say velat tavod v'amar Rav Chisda chalma de lo mefasher. It's like not opening a letter. So what do people take from it? Oh my God, that's bad news.
Not necessarily.
Why should they say bad news? This is like what did they say? All the women stories. There's an expression. Tales.
All the women are what?
Tales.
Old wives' tales, you mean?
Yeah, like
okay, so Rashi says that there's neither good or bad in a dream till you interpret it, because all dreams follow their interpretation.
All dreams follow their interpretation.
However you interpret it, that's what happens.
That's what's going to happen? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. That it's like a letter you didn't read.
Maybe because when you interpret a dream, you have to do it based upon the context, the person, the perception of this person all around. So, and then you have the interpretation because it means something to that person and not to the other one. That's why it also cultural aspects also influence the interpretation of a dream. Yeah. For example, a snake can have many meanings all over the world.
We'll get to the snakes and the elephants later, Natalie. It's actually here in the Gemara. But yes, it can be positive or negative. Okay.
And here when he says that we should dream during a fast is better than not. I think it's associated. We can relate it to food because when you eat too much, so your body will not focus on the dream properly because the body has to work on the digestion.
Right. So Rabbi Zarya of Rome says,
really bad.
Rabbi Zarya of Rome says in the Aruch that Rabbi Azariah Di Rossi, he says that that a dream that you dream during a fast has no meaning. It has no weight. Maybe because I don't know. Maybe
You know what he's saying? He's
I don't agree.
He's exactly commenting on that first sentence. Amar Rav Chasta kol chalom velo tavot. B'amar Rav Chasta chalma delo mefasher. Okay, so that's what this rabbi in Rome did. He's commenting without criticizing, which is always a good way to do it.
Okay, but Amar Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda says, an observation. Lo chalma tova mekayim kule. No good dream happens in its entirety. V'lo chalma bisha mekayim kule. And no bad dream is ever filled in its entirety. In other words, no dream is ever a precise prophecy. A good dream never is fully fulfilled, and a bad dream is never fully fulfilled.
And that's
it happened to me. I had a bad dream, and it happened exactly the way I dreamed. It was horrible, horrible. I dreamed that I couldn't find the place to the workshop I should be at, and on the day I went to the workshop, I couldn't find the way. It was horrible. I couldn't believe, and I had forgotten the dream. I was just sitting in the car, and I couldn't find the place. So I missed the workshop. I couldn't go.
Okay.
And then I remembered the dream.
Well, there you are. Wait. So let's see the next one.
No, wait a minute before you go away from this one.
Okay, go ahead.
So I have a comment on it.
Go ahead,
yes. Here is a very insightful, what he's saying, and that makes sense, that we are always disappointed or we don't know what happens, because usually we either wake up in the middle or we wake up and we say, oh, he didn't finish the story, and we are puzzled.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's saying here.
Interesting. Okay, like there's many ways of interpreting the Gemara, just like there's many ways of interpreting the dream.
Right.
Maybe that's why he said it cannot be entirely fulfilled. Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. There's a lot more to go. Right now, we're just going through the basic statements. And as you see already, they themselves lend themselves to many different interpretations.
Okay, what happened to the text?
I'll bring it back in a second.
Okay.
I'm just doing something. I'll bring it back in 1 second.
In big letters.
This is just like 1 second that turns into 1 minute.
Yeah, okay.
Just like when in a sports game, they say, let's give a minute for that person on behalf of a person who died.
Yeah.
And it's never a minute. It's never a minute.
Well, such is life.
Like 30 seconds or 20 seconds, and all of a sudden everybody is already doing something, and nobody prayed for that one.
Right. I just need to find this. Okay. Copy, paste.
Everything that I need to be focused, I can't do it if my stomach is full. For example, every time I pray,
I guess everyone's different.
I must fast.
Okay.
I can't eat.
Well, they say in the morning you should pray before you eat. It's absolutely true.
Not only in the morning, but in the afternoon or in the evening.
Did you read anything is that strictly privately you, or is that a phenomenon that is known?
Some people pray better on an empty stomach.
Because my stomach is always full, and no wonder I cannot study. I can't concentrate.
No,
Okay.
I cannot concentrate if my stomach is full.
Are you ready to go to the next piece?
And I can't exercise as well if my stomach is full.
Can you make it a little bigger? Can you make it a little
I
bigger?
can make it a lot bigger.
Oh, that would be
Then you're going to
nice.
see it jumping around. Okay.
Oh, that's nice. That's good.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we?
Right here.
Rav
See where my cursor is?
Hey, he's talking
Rav
about,
Chisda.
Chisda.
Rav
So
Chisda
he-
says, Chelma
yeah,
Bisha, a bad dream, Odif Michelma Tova, is better than a good dream.
he's talking about the Chelme from Chelm.
No, it means a dream, Yossel. So why is a bad dream better than a good dream?
Yeah.
So the answer
How so?
is why? So the answer is because a bad dream will cause you to repent. A good dream, so you're happy. A bad dream will cause you to be frightened and terrorized and repent.
Ah,
A bad dream moves you.
That's it. But Omer Rav Chisda says,
And
Tell
sometimes
Mabisha,
moves you
bad
out
dream.
of the bed.
Atzivusei mistaye. His sadness is enough for him. A good dream is enough for him.
Yeah.
In
Where
other
are you?
words, Rav Chisda says that the purpose of a bad dream is to cause you to be worried and, and afraid and frightened and sense how fragile life is and repent and make good use of your time because life is so fragile.
Uh-huh.
On the other hand, a good dream makes you feel good and shine. And in other words, sometimes the purpose of a bad dream or good dream is just to make you feel bad or good. And it doesn't need to go any further.
he could, yeah, but he could say, I had a good dream because I get stuck yesterday.
Well, Rabbi Yosef said, even for me, the joy of a good dream negates it. In other words, if you have a good dream, it makes you feel good. That's already the reward promised that the good dream is the feeling good from the good dream, and it doesn't really happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Rav Chisda said, a bad dream is worse than being whipped by the court for your evil deeds. As it says, God has so made it that men should fear him in Ecclesiastes and the Kohelet. And Rabbi Rana said to Rabbi Yochanan, this is a bad dream that causes a man to fear. In other words, sometimes you have a truly terrifying dream, which should cause you to be afraid and examine your deeds and ask, why did I have a bad dream? Clearly, there's something bad about me, and I need to fix it. So in other words, sometimes the purpose of a frightening dream is you should ask yourself, why would God want me to be frightened? So I need to look within myself and find out the dark and frightening spaces within me. Because maybe there are things within me that are dark and frightening in my bad thoughts and my bad behavior. In other words, why should God want you to be frightened? The answer is because there are frightening and terrible things within ourselves sometimes that we need to fix.
So you're saying that God is communicating through a bad dream.
Yeah, in other words, actually elsewhere in Judaic texts, especially some Kabbalistic texts, it discusses that in a dream, we often see, as you mentioned, our subconscious, what we are. So if we have bad stuff within us that we're repressing and we're denying, the dream lets it out. So now it's in front of you and you can say, hey, look what this garbage you're carrying around in yourself, fix it. So this piece actually perceives the dream as the letting out of the subconscious, what you seek to repress and not allow out. Which is something we often see in, there's a strong school of psychologists who believe that this is sometimes the case with dreams. Yes, Joe.
So what you were saying, you were bringing in again, you are saying that all dreams,
Not all.
God makes you dream of good, bad, in between.
Yep. But
Why?
more than that, it's not just God makes it happen. It says, let's take a careful look at the language in Kohelet. Velokim asa, God made this, sheyiru milefanav, that we should fear him. Where do we use the term asa by God? It refers to what God makes in nature, what God builds into nature. In other words, It's not a prophetic message necessarily, God built into your nature that those negative things that you seek to suppress, that you seek to hide, when you dream, God causes you, created you in such a way that the defenses are down, the inhibitions are down, and the dragons you've been locking in the dungeon come flying out, and you're forced to confront the dark and ugly things within you.
Something tells me I don't like that, because to me it sounds that different people, I think somebody that is studied a lot, that is smart and educated, dreams differently than somebody doesn't know an olive from a babe, and he is he's superstitious from childhood because that's how he was brought up. He's going to have all kind of dreams different from somebody else.
Joe?
Yes.
There is such a hint in the Zohar, but from the Talmud's perspective, lav dafka, not necessarily. It could be that very different people see very similar dreams.
Yeah, it is.
I think you're slowly trying to become a Kabbalist.
I'm not trying to do anything to you, but the main job of a rabbi is to teach, and I'm going to share with everyone the full range of things Judaism talks about. That's my goal. And there are many different areas of Judaism. You don't have to adopt anything.
There were many reasons for Kabbalah.
If Freud was an observant or religious, or I would say that he
wasn't a religious Jew in any sense.
He read this part of the Talmud because
you know what? I don't even know. You know what? I don't even know if Freud could read the Talmud without a translation, because it's in Aramaic. He may have known Hebrew. I have no idea what he knew Jewishly. Certainly, he incorporated a lot of Jewish ideas. Freud was familiar with Hasidic stories and some Hasidic ideas. How much?
What I'm saying is about exactly this part that we are.
In other words, his discussion of the book of Exodus, to me, demonstrates that he didn't understand it at all.
Oh, you mean the book about Moses?
But he uses exactly this explanation. He tells us that there are many similarities.
I didn't say he was wrong about everything. I just say he didn't.
No, I'm just talking about this part.
Yeah, no. And he may have arrived at these conclusions on his own without the Talmud. He may have been influenced by something he heard from his grandparents. We don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
We simply don't know. I can't talk about something I know nothing about. I mean, people
I just would like to point out.
Yes.
It's interesting that we find it in psychoanalysis. All his studies on sexuality and dreams, and we can find all this in the Talmud.
But as Freud said to one of his students, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Okay.
Yeah. He said that.
No,
it was not Freud. It was, I guess, Marguerite Duras.
Okay, mate.
A pipe is just a pipe.
That's okay. I don't claim to be a Freud expert. Okay, I just heard the joke. Furthermore, okay, so next piece. Now we are going to declare. So if you remember, Yirmiyahu challenges the false prophets and says as follows. In other words, says, look, I'm a prophet. You guys are dreams. The prophet has a dream, let him tell a dream. And he has my word, let him speak faithfully. What has the straw to do with the grain? The Gemara says, what does straw and grain have to do with a dream? Rather, Rabbi Yochanan says in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, just as it's impossible for the grain to grow without straw, so it's impossible for a dream without idle matters. Jeremiah says, look, I'm a prophet. What Hashem tells me, everything I see happens exactly that way. But you guys are dreamers. So even if you occasionally hit the truth with a dream, there's a bit of grain with a ton of straw. In other words, dreams do have truth in them, according to this interpretation of the book of Jeremiah. But mixed in with the truth is a ton of garbage. Empty stuff, just fragments, things that don't have meaning. So even where a dream is predictive, it is not predictive in its entirety unless it's a prophecy, which is a whole different animal.
Does it have anything to do with spiritual intelligence, or this prophet may be more mature when it's about spirituality,
No, it's a prophecy.
and the dreamers are not?
Well, Natalie, the concept is that prophecy is a very specific means of communication that is absolutely not a dream. It comes in the form of a dream, but it's a direct communication from God. So it's not about the person. When God chooses to speak to you, he will speak to you through the medium of a dream, but you will know it's a prophecy.
Okay.
This is something we studied before you joined us on Zoom. We studied prophecy in Judaism extensively. But there's a piece of Maimonides, you can look it up, Maimonides on prophecy, that explains all this thoroughly. Now, Omer Rebbe Brechia says if it's a dream and not a prophecy, even though it is partially fulfilled, it's not fulfilled. How do we know this? From the story of Joseph's dream. That he said, the star, the sun and the moon and the stars will bow down to me. But the moon is who? His mother. So his mother wasn't alive. So it's not possible that his mother should ever bow down to him.
Well, his father
yes.
His father already asked that question of him. How is that possible?
Well, that's exactly. So his father wants to stop the brothers from being jealous of him by using this to destroy the whole dream. But in truth, the dream was true, except for a few details.
Yeah. And that sometimes creates a serious problem. If it just has a little truth, and you just said, a little wheat with a lot of garbage.
Right. Well, Joseph's dream was the other way around. It was almost all true with a little bit of garbage. Now, according to Rashi, since Bilhah raised Joseph and Bilhah came and bowed down to him, the dream really was completely fulfilled. Because Bilhah was like his stepmother. So go no.
The whole story is about how the Jewish people are supposed to become a nation. It starts with dreams of Joseph. The whole trip for Yaakov to take at the end of his life, he's leaving Eretz Canaan that is promised to his grandfather and father and to himself. And he goes down to Egypt. And it makes a lot of sense because after 200 or 150, 200 years, Jacob realizes if I stay here another 200 years, the 400 years that God mentions to Abram will never happen.
Yeah. You got
we
a
have
point.
to go to Egypt. We have to go to Egypt.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff that we don't see or our rabbis didn't want us to see.
Okay.
Yeah, because they saw the damage, the possible damage of it. And
now this gets even better. Now we're going to use Yosef's dream as a model. Amar Rabbi Levi, La'olam yitzapa adam lechalom tov at esrim ushtayim shana. A person should always hope for a good dream for 22 years.
Why?
From Yosef, the Chsiv, these are the generations of Yosef at 17 years old. And it says Yosef was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh. From 17 to 30 is... From 17 to 30 is how many years?
From 17 to 30, 13 years.
Okay, and then how long, and then?
It's bar mitzvah years.
But wait. And then add 7 years of plenty and 2 of famine, the total is 22 years. And only then was the dream fulfilled when his brothers came and bowed down to him. So from Joseph, we see that if you have a good dream, you can wait 22 years to see if it's fulfilled. Past 22, it already's past its expiration date.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
I'm disappointed here. The rabbis here are supposed to save us from the whole issue of dreams, and here they do just the opposite.
I told you that the Talmud has many strongly conflicting and arguing ideas about dreams.
Because they were not psychiatrists. They were not qualified, really. They
You
didn't
know
have
what?
the experience.
And you know what? Psychiatrists aren't qualified either. Almost everything they told us about dreams, including Freud, no one believes anymore. The
That's
answer is
true.
no one is. When it comes to dreams, no one is qualified, and everyone is qualified.
Today, all a psychiatrist does today is sell pills.
Right. Because he can make money on pills. He can't make money on dreams.
He sees four patients in an hour. Multiply
That's it.
by 8. It's 32 patients. And if everybody, I don't know what they give him though for.
Yeah,
He's charging $100. He ends up maybe with 50, but 50 is still a lot of money.
Well, Joe, maybe you shouldn't have been an engineer. You should have been a psychiatrist.
I should have been a lot of things other than engineer.
Yeah, but you know what, Yossel? Yossel, you know what? You know what, Yossel?
Yeah.
I'll tell you a secret. If you were a psychiatrist, you would only go through one patient a day because you'd be arguing with them the whole time.
And I would be starving.
Anyways,
yeah.
better an engineer, Joe. Drawings
Okay.
don't talk back. Amar Rav Huna. The only time the
Well, the
engineer's
psychiatrist
creations talk
listen.
back to him is when they don't work. When
Oh
you
my
design a
God.
plane and it crashes, then you hear from it.
Adam Tov ein marin lo
Shalom
Alom
Tov.
Tov.
Rav Huna said, we don't show good dreams to good people, and we don't show bad dreams to bad people.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me think about it. And what in the world is he saying?
Well, here's one interpretation.
Yeah.
A good person is punished for his relatively few transgressions with bad dreams, and a wicked person is rewarded for his relatively few merits with good dreams.
But that's not what he's saying here, just the opposite.
That's
Adam
what it
Tov.
means. We
Oh,
don't show a
Adam
good
Tov
person a good
ein
dream.
marin lo Chalom Tov, Adam Ra ein marin lo.
In other
Oh.
words, the purpose of dreams, according to Rav Huna, is to reward or punish a person. So the good dreams, the bad person gets, because that's his reward. That's all the reward he gets. And the good person, we punish him with bad dreams. So this is a very, very curious statement.
Yeah, it is. Exactly.
extremely
Very
curious.
Very curious. Why?
Because if it
Why
was-
are you punishing a good person? I don't understand.
No, because he has some small sins.
But
In other words,
if he would do otherwise, these people wouldn't change. So a good person will give a bad dream. So you have
It
you
contradicts. This is
change.
in contradiction to what we said earlier.
it's almost, I think it would make more sense if he said, instead of good and bad, if he said educated and uneducated.
I just think it's a kind of a stimulus to move the person.
No, so look, yeah, but here it is. Rav
Something
Chisda
different.
says a bad dream, yeah, is helpful. It's good.
Uh-huh.
And here Rav Huna says it's a form of punishment. So the point is like this. There are three kinds of people we're talking about here. Very good people, very bad people, and most of us who fall in the middle. So very, very good people only get bad dreams because even a very good person has done something wrong. and therefore needs to be punished, and this is their punishment. A very, very bad person has
Punished
done
or
some
scared?
good. 1 minute, let me finish. A very, very bad person has done some good, and therefore needs to be rewarded because he's going to be punished in the next world. So we reward him with a good dream. Most of us in the middle, Rav Chisda's principles follow. That we have bad dreams to get us to improve because we're improvable. And the dreams are all mixed up. In other words, Rav Huna is talking about a very, very good person or a very, very evil person. He's not talking about the vast majority of people. This seems to be the case. Otherwise, it makes no sense at all. So I think this is what he's talking about. Rav Huna is talking about a tzaddik gamor, a completely righteous person, almost. And he's talking also, Rav Huna is talking about Rasha gamor, almost completely evil person. Then it makes sense. This piece makes sense in that context. And we learned about this.
What's the purpose?
What? Go ahead, Natalie.
What is the purpose?
For most people, to wake them up, to make them look into their deeds. But for a very bad person, this person isn't repentant. This person is completely evil. He's, past the point of no return. But he did some good deeds. We throw him as like a dog of bone, some nice dreams. A truly good person is going to stay good. But they may have done a few little bad things, so we punish them in this world with bad dreams, so in the next world they have only good.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone else in the middle, this obviously doesn't apply to. This must be talking about the extremes. A good person that there is no better, and a bad person that there is no worse.
Yeah.
Something tells me that there must be a lot of midrashim.
Well, these are some of them
that probably disagree with each other.
No, even in this little piece of Gemara, there's clearly disagreements. I told you, the issue of dreams are disagreements from one extreme to another, all over the place. There isn't a single Talmudic view on dreams.
Well, if there is no solution.
So the Hanaf Yosef, one of the commentaries here says what I say, that we're talking about a good person who has a few tiny bad things, and a bad person has a few tiny good things. But most good or bad people are somewhere in the middle. So this is not talking about people in the middle. So for example, King David, who was a great man who did a few sins, we also learned so. Kol shenosav shel David le'roa chalom tov. All of David's life, he never saw a good dream because he had some sins to fix. V'chol shenosav shel Achitophel, his advisor, who was a conniving, dangerous man, he never saw a bad dream because Achitophel was a bad person.
Ooh. Okay.
So now we have a question. Isn't it written, Lo sunu elecha ra, no evil shall come to you? Omer Rabbi Yirmiyah ba'av, Rabbi Yirmiyah had said, you shouldn't be bothered by bad dreams and bad thoughts, right? So it's impossible then that a righteous person will always have bad dreams. So here's a clever answer. What is Rav Huna saying? Other people have bad dreams about the righteous person. You yourself have some bad, some good dreams. But the righteous person, no one ever has good dreams about him. They only have bad dreams about him.
Why? Because they envy?
No, because God shows them bad dreams about this person, which they then tell the person, which aggravates him and atones for his sins. And then about the really wicked person, people have good dreams, which they tell him and they make him feel good. But we're talking here about the dreams other people have about you. Very interesting.
That's not a translation. That's reading into the text.
No, I'll read it. Ella iulo chaze. I'll read it to you. Ella but, let me read it to you word by word, Joe. Ella but, ihu lo chaze. He does not see these bad or good dreams. Achrine, other people chazule see it lay about him. It's not an interpretation. It's the actual simple translation of the Aramaic text.
Well, wait a minute. What are these other people? How do they know what he was dreaming about?
No, let's say, Joe, let us say you were a righteous person. Let's just imagine that, okay?
Oh, let's imagine I'm a righteous person.
Right.
Right.
So I have a dream about Yossel.
Okay.
So I would have a dream that Yossel, I'll have a dream that Joe, his insurance company told him that he has to drive nothing with more than 50 horsepower because so that's a very bad dream for Joe. So I would have the dream about you that you have to drive I don't know, a Ford Fiesta from 1980 and nothing faster. This would be a very big tragedy for you. So that's a bad dream.
A Yugo.
So a friend of mine had a Yugo when they first came to this country.
Yeah.
And the floor rusted through.
Yeah.
And the brakes didn't work very well. No, it wasn't the brakes. And the starter didn't work. But because it was a manual, you could start it by pushing it, right?
Yes.
So, but he didn't want to get out of the car. So because the floorboards rusted through, he just stuck his feet onto the ground and he pushed the car by walking from inside the car. It was so light, it would start. Then he could put it in gear, it would start.
Well,
then,
they were very,
then the supports that held the seat rusted out. So
I'm very familiar with these cars.
Yeah.
I remember the $150.
So he super glued a milk crate to the floor and he drove the car sitting on a milk crate. Yeah, so that would be a bad dream if Yossel would have to drive a Yugo. So
yeah.
So if I had a dream that you were driving a Yugo, that would be a bad dream about you. Right? Okay. So that's the idea, Natalie. On the other hand, let's say I was a wicked person. Natalie might have a dream that I won the lottery. So she would go tell me, it'd make me feel good, and that would be my reward for my good deeds, because I get a reward from this world, because in the next world I have to be held to account for what I did. That is the solution given by the students. Doesn't have a name, by the students. Okay.
What about the ones who can't remember their dreams and they have the feeling that they didn't dream? There was something here.
Well, here we are.
Here. The Gemara asks us.
What, and not seeing a dream is a good thing? Didn't Rab Zera say anyone who sleeps 7 days without a dream is called evil? As it says that he who shall lie satisfied shall not be visited with evil. But rather, Natalie, the Talmud says, the chaza de la yada my chaza. He saw dreams but didn't understand what he saw. If you don't dream at all, it's a bad sign. If you dream and don't remember, that's okay. And you know that most dreams happen during rapid eye movement sleep, which is when you get most of your rest. If you're not dreaming, it's because you're not going into REM, and that's very unhealthy for your heart and everything else.
Yeah. And nowadays, some people are on meds, and these meds interrupt their healthy dreams. So they can't remember because of the influence of these meds.
Okay, well, we shall continue. Have a good night. See you all in the morning, people.
Yeah, and
we'll continue with this discussion. We have only begun.
Yeah, have a good goyish year.
Well, listen. It says in Tehillim, Hashem yispor b'ksov amim. God counts the way the nations write. So, in other words, if everyone's wishing each other a happy New Year, you can wish each other a happy New Year.
Yeah, okay. I agree. I mean, we do live by both calendars, so.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. Okay, sei gesund, everyone.